For decades, men have watched the world change in silence. Every movie, every classroom, every trending post whispered the same lie. You are the problem. Masculinity became a disease, fatherhood a burden, and love a battlefield. Society didn't destroy men with violence. It destroyed them with guilt. And while men were busy apologizing for existing, the bond between the sexes was quietly dismantled. This video isn't a call to fix it. It's not a pep talk. It's an autopsy. A cold, merciless look at how culture rewired women to resent men and how the modern world profits from that hatred. Watch until the very end, not for hope, but for understanding. Because only by seeing how deep the manipulation goes can you finally recognize the game you were never meant to win. Number 1. The feminist distortion from equality to superiority. Once upon a time, feminism was noble. It was born from pain, from the cry of women who wanted to be seen as human. Not property, not decoration, but like every movement that gains power, it was eventually corrupted by ideology and ego. What began as a demand for fairness became a crusade for dominance. The pendulum swung too far. The modern narrative no longer asks for respect. It demands submission. Men are no longer viewed as partners in life's struggle, but as the enemy class, the scapegoats for every failure of the modern world. Every societal flaw, war, greed, pollution, even emotional pain, is laid at the feet of the patriarchy. It's a convenient lie. It erases personal responsibility and replaces it with a comforting fantasy. If only men disappeared, women would finally be free. But here's the tragic irony. The more women are taught to hate men, the more they hate themselves. Because to hate men is to hate the mirror of what balances you, the energy that complements your own. Society engineered this resentment, not to empower women, but to divide humanity. A divided species is easier to control, easier to sell to, easier to manipulate. The distortion came through soft power. Through movies, schools, and slogans. The new feminist mantra was no longer, "We are equal," but "We don't need you." From classrooms to corporate ads, girls were told that strength means independence from men, not interdependence with them. They were conditioned to associate femininity with weakness, masculinity with danger. It was not liberation. It was emotional sterilization. Meanwhile, men, shamed into silence, withdrew. And in the silence, resentment grew. Women became louder, men became colder, and the bridge between them collapsed. The tragedy is that both sides were victims of the same design, a social experiment where love was replaced by suspicion. The modern feminist ideal promised empowerment but delivered emptiness. It taught women to replace understanding with accusation, empathy with arrogance. It told them that to be powerful, they must not coexist with men, but conquer them. Yet no war between the sexes can ever have a victor, only a generation that forgets how to love. Number 2, media indoctrination, heroes and villains of gender. The war between men and women didn't begin in the streets. It began on screens. While the masses laughed at sitcoms and cried over romantic dramas, something subtle was happening. A psychological conditioning disguised as entertainment. Bit by bit, decade after decade, media reshaped how women perceived men. It didn't have to preach hatred directly. It only had to repeat the same image until the subconscious accepted it as truth. In every movie, the man is either a fool or a villain. The father is clueless, the husband is unfaithful, the boss is abusive. The woman, meanwhile, is the enlightened one, strong, flawless, morally superior. We have been fed a story where femininity equals virtue and masculinity equals corruption. This wasn't art, it was programming. The brilliance of manipulation lies in its invisibility. When something is sold as comedy, you don't guard your mind. You laugh. And while you laugh, you absorb the poison. A generation grew up watching men fail, apologize, or vanish. And what happens when you see the same narrative thousands of times? You stop questioning it. You start to believe that's how men truly are. Repetition becomes reality. Commercials joined the war too. Every ad told women, "You are perfect as you are. Men are the problem." It wasn't empowerment, it was flattery engineered to sell. By inflating the female ego and humiliating the male role, corporations made both sexes spiritually dependent. Women seeking validation, men seeking forgiveness. A perfect market of emotional consumers. Talk shows, music videos, and pop feminism finished the job. Every platform glorified the strong, independent woman, while mocking the traditional man. Masculinity was rebranded as toxic, fatherhood as obsolete. And when women started to believe that every man was either weak or dangerous, the bridge of trust collapsed, exactly as designed. Modern media didn't destroy love by accident. It did so by design. Because a population divided by gender is easy to govern, easy to distract, and easy to sell illusions to. The true genius of this manipulation is that it made women feel righteous while hating men, and made men feel guilty for simply existing. Both sides shackled, not by chains, but by narratives. Number 3, social media and echo chambers. The digital war of validation. If television shaped beliefs, social media shaped identity. It is no longer about what women think. It's about what they must be seen thinking. The algorithm became the invisible puppeteer, rewarding anger, punishing nuance, and turning human emotion into digital currency. In this new economy, outrage pays, hatred trends, empathy dies. Women are told that posting resentment is empowerment. A bitter caption, a sarcastic reel, a public complaint about men, and the crowd applauds. The dopamine rush replaces genuine connection. Each like is a drop of validation, each share a microdose of power. And slowly, without realizing it, they become addicted, not to truth, but to attention. Social approval replaces self-awareness. The digital arena has no place for harmony. It only rewards conflict. If a woman speaks of forgiveness, she is ignored. If she speaks of anger, she goes viral. Algorithms have no morality. They amplify whatever keeps you scrolling. So rage becomes virtue. Division becomes identity. And what was once emotional expression becomes collective programming. The echo chamber works quietly. It filters reality until only what confirms your pain remains. A woman hurt by one man sees endless posts about all men being the same. A man rejected once sees endless clips warning never trust women. And so, each gender is trapped in its own digital mirror maze, seeing reflections of pain, never the faces of truth. What makes this manipulation powerful is its intimacy. People believe what they see on their feed because it feels personal, even sacred. But it isn't. It's machine-curated emotion, designed not to enlighten, but to provoke. The system doesn't care about justice or gender. It only cares about engagement. The longer you hate, the longer you scroll. And so, love, once spontaneous and human, has been replaced by performance. People no longer connect to heal. They connect to be seen. The screen became both the confessional and the execution ground, where every heartbreak is broadcast and every gender blamed. The tragedy of social media is not that it lied to us. It's that it taught us to lie to ourselves, to mistake attention for affection and division for truth. We became armies of emotion, fighting invisible enemies, while the architects of the algorithm counted the profit in silence. Number 4. Economic manipulation. Breaking family bonds for profits. Freedom was never free. It was marketed. The modern world didn't liberate women. It monetized them. When corporations realized that an independent woman spends twice as much as a married one, feminism became not a movement, but a marketing strategy. The slogan changed from equal rights to you don't need a man. And behind that slogan stood a smiling salesman. They sold empowerment like perfume. They told women that happiness could be found in a career, in luxury, in endless self-fulfillment. But the more they chased it, the more anxious they became. Because true fulfillment never comes from consumption. It comes from connection. And connection was the very thing society quietly destroyed. By dismantling the family unit, the system created perfect consumers. A woman living alone buys more. More clothes, more decor, more validation. A man without a family spends more on distractions, indulgences, escapism. The corporation replaces the husband. The brand replaces the community. Love used to fill the void. Now, advertisements do. And so, a new religion was born. Consumerism as salvation. This wasn't progress. It was a prison disguised as freedom. They told women that to depend on a man is weakness, yet made them dependent on the market instead. They told men that to provide is oppression, yet turned them into slaves of endless labor. Both genders chained to the same God, profit, but from opposite sides of the altar. Every billboard, every influencer, every self-love campaign whispered the same message. You are not enough, but you could be if you buy this. It was never about empowerment. It was about ensuring that no one ever felt whole. Because people who feel complete don't consume. To destroy love was to expand the market. To break families was to double the profit margin. And now, generations wander through shopping malls calling it liberation, posting their loneliness with a smile. They have everything that money can buy, except the one thing money killed: meaning. Number 5. The psychological toll. Women aren't happier. The great irony of modern liberation is that it has made women freer but emptier. They were told that abandoning men, family, and vulnerability would bring peace. Yet the statistics whisper another story. Antidepressants have become silent companions. Anxiety and loneliness climb with every new promise of empowerment. The modern woman has everything her grandmother could only dream of. Yet somehow, she smiles less. Society taught her that happiness lies in independence, career, and self-love. But independence without intimacy becomes isolation. Career without purpose becomes exhaustion. And self-love without humility becomes narcissism. She gained the world, but lost herself. In trying to be everything, she became nothing real. The deeper tragedy is psychological. By being told to distrust men, women learn to distrust their own feminine nature, their instinct to care, to connect, to surrender in love. They began to see their softness as weakness, their compassion as submission. To protect themselves from disappointment, they built walls so high that not even love could climb them. They became strong, but not happy, powerful, but not peaceful. The emptiness grows in silence. Every night, after the posts and the parties, comes the quiet ache that no achievement can soothe. Because what women were truly searching for was never dominance. It was meaning. And meaning doesn't come from conquering the opposite sex. It comes from harmony with it. The system that taught women to despise men never cared about women's happiness, only their utility. It needed their anger to fuel movements, their spending to feed markets, their loneliness to sustain control. And so, generation after generation, women were sold the same poison, repackaged as progress. True empowerment is not rebellion against men, but reconciliation with one's own nature. It is the courage to be gentle in a world that rewards hardness. It is the wisdom to see that equality was never meant to erase polarity, but to balance it. When women rediscover their softness without shame, and men their strength without guilt, then, and only then, will humanity finally remember what it means to love. The awakening begins with you. The truth is simple. The real revolution is not fought on streets, but inside the human heart. When love returns, the manipulation ends. When men and women begin to see each other not through pain, but through understanding, the system that profits from our division will collapse. Because unity is unprofitable, but it is powerful beyond measure. You were never meant to hate. You were meant to awaken. And that awakening begins when you choose connection over pride, truth over ideology, and forgiveness over revenge. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even question what you've been taught, then don't let it die in silence. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Like this video so the message spreads further, and subscribe to the channel. Because this isn't just content. It's a movement of consciousness, a rebellion against programmed division. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs voices that speak truth, and hearts brave enough to listen. Be one of them.